Welcome to Orangemonton, also known as Redmonton to some people. We'll get to the election in a little bit. First off, the market update. So this comes from the Realtors Association of Edmonton. They are excellent at providing some fantastic information. Us being on the last Wednesday of every month, we come up just a little bit shy of the most recent information. But if you go to the Realtors Association of Edmonton on June 2nd, you will find out how May did. But certainly as realtors always kind of get a pretty decent idea in regards to how things are going. So ultimately, how are things going? So basically, we're still kind of recovering from the effects, I guess you could say, of an extremely strong seller's market in 2022. So pretty much everything compared to last year is down, but we are trending a little bit upwards when it comes to this year. So as you can see, we're down a lot from last year in total sales. We increased a little bit from March. Detached unit sales, which again, that's the new verbiage for single family homes. It's now known as a detached unit. They're down from last year, up from March. And residential average prices are sitting around $408,000. And overall listings are averaging about 44 days on market. This is the home price index. I love this ability for us to pull information to see how things are going. The two graphs on there, one is Edmonton. The lower graph in red is Edmonton, basically the city of Edmonton. And then the blue graph, or the blue line, is the GEA, or Greater Edmonton area, which will include pretty much every place else: Sherwood Park, St. Albert, Beaumont, all those types of things. And it's trending up a little bit. So what's the difference between April last year to April this year? About 9%. So we're down about 9% from last year. Alberta election results. I found this slide and I love it because there were 15 different parties. Sometimes there was only one candidate, but there was 15 different parties that ran in this election. Two different Wild Rose parties, a Buffalo party, a Communist party. In my area, there was an NDP candidate, a UCP candidate, and a Communist candidate. So it was quite interesting. So anyways, again, it's 49 to 38 when it comes to who's making up the 88 seats in Alberta, or 87 seats in Alberta. NDP gained at least 10 new seats. It's now the largest official opposition ever in the history of Alberta. Thought that was quite interesting. The UCP gained many seats in rural Alberta that they lost at the last election. And the UCP did lose some pretty heavy hitters. They lost 4 cabinet ministers in this past election. This is Edmonton. We are all orange, or all red, as we're known for Redmonton. Calgary also lost about half its seats to the NDP. I mean, pretty much, as some people have loosely compared it to, down in the States with major cities, they're mostly Democratic, and then the rural areas Republican. You could kind of sort of suggest the same sort of thing with the UCP, or sorry, the NDP being in the major centers and the UCP being rural. Is it concerning for Edmonton to have no representation? Well, we've been here before. The last time we saw this was in 1993. Things are different now. There is a little bit more of a feeling, as opposed to Edmonton and Calgary, it's more of a feeling of we're all in this together. I certainly saw today Danielle Smith reaching out to Justin Trudeau. We saw our mayor, Sohi, reaching out to Danielle Smith. We'll ultimately see what happens. One of the things that I thought was interesting is people say, why? Why is Edmonton so orange and red? Well, one of the things that I found, and this is just more of a factual observation, is that we often talk about Edmonton being wonderfully diversified, epicenter of healthcare, epicenter of education, strong union and stuff like that. They all vote to the left, but let's also remember they're also great people to rent to. They're very steady incomes and that, so something to keep in mind there. Anyways, just a little food for thought there. Okay, inflation. Inflation is slightly up in April. It moved up to 4.4. That's the first increase since last July. Alberta also increased 1 full percent from 3.3 to 4.3. It's the first increase since last October. Core inflation is sitting at 4.4%. And take note, circle it on your calendar. The next Bank of Canada interest rate announcement is June 7th. And last time I spoke to Keaton, he said that there is no expectation, but we'll see what happens. The Bank of Canada might have to rethink its pause as unemployment remains very low. This is a very interesting thing, and it deals with the next couple of slides. Everybody should know or understand that an economy is strong when there's a lot of jobs, and a lot of job shortages are being filled by all the immigrants that are coming. And so the labor market is quite strong, and the Bank of Canada is thinking it actually might be too strong, and it might turn inflation back in the opposite direction. So it's an interesting dynamic to hear them talking about the fact that they want the labor market to maybe cool a little bit. Anyways, employment is sitting in Canada at 5%. That's just 0.1% above the all-time low of 4.9% from last year. This is the article there about job growth being a bit of a concern. Calgary no longer has the highest unemployment in Canada. It's dropped down to 6.4%. I believe it's now Windsor, Ontario that has the highest unemployment. Edmonton is sitting at 5.7%, and the province is at 5.9%. There's just a quick graph to see where we've come over the last few years. As you can see, obviously during COVID, unemployment really rose, but we're back down to, as we said, the 5 and 5.9% for Alberta and for Canada. In case you're wondering, and I'm not too sure whether or not anybody can see this, especially, well, I suppose the people online can see it, but I'll point out that, so this is the change in employment over the course of the past year, April 2022 to April 2023. And so what we have here, for those of you that can't read it, is services and producing sectors increase the most. Professional, scientific, and technical services are up. Transportation and warehousing, manufacturing, finance, insurance, real estate, those are up. One of the biggest losers is wholesale and retail trade, forestry, fishing, mining, educational services, and various things like that. So just interesting to see how things have come and where we've got some growth and some contraction over the course of the past year. That's a lot of oil. Alberta has seen the largest production of oil in this quarter ever. So we quietly are still really producing a lot of oil. Interestingly enough, we are also leading the country in clean energy, solar and wind. Does anybody ever talk about that, especially the federal government? No, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on. New houses pricing shows signs of flattening. This is good news. It means that supply chain issues and too much expense is starting to balance out a little bit. Basically, we're seeing a slowdown in prices and a bit of a drop in Alberta. There's basically a graph in regards to where new prices are going. So you can starting to see that they're slowly starting to tail off as they really jumped up during COVID. More than 200 city projects on the go in Edmonton. That's a lot. If you've been driving around in Edmonton lately, there's construction everywhere. Obviously, some of the big things that are going on is you've got, the LRT in the southeast is basically built. They're just testing, and they have no idea how long that's going to be ready. The Capital Line is going. You've got the 50th Streets. They're trying to get rid of the train tracks there. Terwillegar Drive is being built out, and obviously the Yellowhead. There's some major projects going. And then there's also some smaller things in terms of just improving neighborhoods in regards to curbs, fixing bridges and various things like that. But 200 different projects, that is a lot of employment for the city. I love to show this every month. There's 23 companies hiring this past May. Some of them are pretty big hitters. Obviously, the City of Edmonton, University of Alberta, WestJet, Stantec, Enbridge, EPCOR, those types of things. This slide is actually referring to last weekend. The Alberta Motor Association, who's been around for something like 80 or 90 years, for the very first time in their history, they had a job fair. They were looking to fill over 100 positions, and some of them were paying upwards of $100,000, and it was extremely well attended. So there are a lot of people looking. What's happening, Jen? Oh, there we go. Okay, for those of you that have been in Edmonton for a while, you'll know that the downtown core is under a bit of duress right now. And so the city is trying to do something about it, and they've launched a downtown revitalization initiative called Meet Me Downtown. They have $5 million worth of grants that people can apply to. They're trying to get more people coming down. Businesses can apply to this in an effort to try to run programs and various things like that to try to pull people downtown. I'm sure you've heard before that a city is only healthy if its downtown core is healthy. So it's a good initiative. It's already met with a little bit of controversy as the mascot is Marvin the meatball. So people are kind of going, I don't really see how that has anything to do with downtown, but that's what they're running with. So if you start to see Marvin the meatball around lately, just think about downtown. So the Capitol line, that's the Capitol line is basically carrying on. This is going to cross the Henday to the south and ultimately end up at what is eventually going to be the South Hospital if it ever gets built. They've the costs continue to go up and they continue to pull back a lot of the plans. So it's still going ahead, but ultimately it's just something to keep an eye on in regards to just as they kind of change their plans. I think it's always important to bring up what's happening with the LRT because improvements to transportation is one of the key fundamentals in regards to where you should potentially buy in your real estate. Better price growth projected for Edmonton real estate here. They're projecting about 1.5% increase. So what's happening right now is Calgary has actually been in quite a seller's market since January. Certainly we have conversations with a lot of real estate agents, but where I hear the most complaints about what's going on in Calgary is I have a brother-in-law that's trying to buy. And he keeps missing out, overpriced, overlist, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. It's quite crazy down there. And I learned long ago in business that Edmonton follows Calgary. We just don't know when. Could be 3 months, could be 18 months. But usually, if Calgary being the economic center of Alberta continues to be strong, we should be expecting this to happen in Edmonton eventually. What we actually are enjoying in Edmonton right now is some slow, steady growth, which can be frustrating on both sides. In a seller's market, you obviously have happy sellers. In a buyer's market, you've got happy buyers. In a kind of a balanced market, I like to say that everybody's mildly disappointed. Buyers can't get the deals they want. The sellers can't get the price they want. But real estate isn't supposed to be a roller coaster ride. Real estate is supposed to be dull, boring, methodical, well thought out. And certainly in a market like this, there are good opportunities that we are going in a slow, steady growth. If you remember what happened or on the graph with the home price index as it continues to kind of go up a little bit. And that basically is what they're projecting for the rest of this year. Edmonton, the best place for singles to buy a condo. You can get into a condo for less than $10,000. The national average to get into a condo is $28,000, and I believe it's Vancouver that it takes you at least $49,000 to get in. But you can get in for $9,155 in a condo in Edmonton. This is talking about Canada Mortgage Housing Corporation. That's talking about the average two-bedroom apartment in Edmonton is now $1,300 compared to $1,270 in 2021. So we are starting to see some rents move up. Retail demand in Canada continues. Calgary has moved up to be the highest increase, and Edmonton is coming second at a close is at a close second. So we're definitely starting to see some great movement in Alberta when it comes to rents. So ultimately, what does this mean? So we have some continued population growth. We have people migrating from other parts of the country, and they're looking for jobs, and they are coming for jobs, and they're looking for places to live. We also continue to have 500,000 people every year coming to Canada. Most of them are ending up in BC and Ontario, but a lot of them are coming to Alberta. Some feel that they're coming to Calgary first, and that's why Calgary is so strong. But eventually when prices get to be too high or things get to be too competitive, they go, what's this other city 3 hours up the highway? And then they slowly start to come here. We're still the most affordable for rental rates. We're still the most affordable for real estate prices. Both rents and prices continue to rise moderately. As I mentioned, Calgary is still very strong. Does Edmonton follow? Most likely. When? Stay tuned. Jobs. That's why people are coming. I think we've talked about several slides here about there's jobs, and that's why people are coming and they need places to live. So slow and steady wins the race. You know, it's a good opportunity now. Things aren't crazy. There's good deals out there. It's just a matter of continuing to be in this room and being educated. There will always never be all green lights down the road. There will always be some red lights. So you have to be prepared for that. Probably one of the biggest things that everyone's wondering right now is what's going to happen in Edmonton based on the new political landscape. We'll see what happens. Ultimately, again, continue to come and visit us and make sure you network well and find a Mogul agent to have a conversation with if you've got any questions about the market. Thanks very much.